Hey, my name's Jason Nicholson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is interesting. You see, the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, they've admitted that the government's latest policies, I'm talking the Renters' Rights Act, I'm talking the budget, the stuff that you've just seen, that is going to cause rents to increase at a very fast rate. So you'd think the government would have listened to some of this stuff, but ultimately we're going to see the consequences of all of this stuff happening over the next few months. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what the Office of Budget Responsibility are saying. Why are they saying rents are going to increase? What specifically that the government has done is the main problems. Now, before we jump into this, if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We've just hit 51,000 subscribers, and by subscribing, you'll get all the latest property news, interest rate news, house price news, property investing tips, and much, much more. And let's get some views on this video. Your part in that is very simple. All you need to do is smash like, tick or like, do something to that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that really has helped the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that does that. So it's interesting that the Office of Budget Responsibility are criticising the government. Well, it's interesting as well that in the budget, prior to the budget, they leaked the whole budget before it was even announced, which is something that's never happened before. But it did make my job a lot easier because I was reading through these documents and listening to Sky News and figuring it all out as the budget was happening. So it sped up the time for me. So that was a win. But they're saying that these government policies aren't good. They're not good if you're a tenant. And that's a problem because a lot of the stuff that the government is trying to do right now is to try and help with the affordability crisis, or at least they say that. But a lot of their stuff is inflationary. You see, if you have a certain amount of landlords, you have 100 landlords and you have 100 people that want to rent a property, but then you annoy those landlords enough that then you've only got 80, suddenly rents go up because there's more tenants than there is landlords. And that's a problem because the tenants are then desperate to get the properties, and so they will be willing to pay more to make sure they've got a property and they're not the person without. You've had other government policies that have also been inflationary according to the OBR as well. So last year, they made businesses contribute more national insurance. Now, that's fine if you're talking Amazon and Starbucks and these big corporations, but small businesses have been on their knees for the last 5 years. They've got high energy costs. There's a chip shop over the road from me, which is really good. And their gas bill went from something like $2,000 to $6,000. That's not affordable. They don't even make $4,000 profit in a month. And they've really struggled the last few years because of the energy costs. So increasing things like the minimum wage, that's going to be inflationary because that means restaurants will spend more on staff, hotels will, so they will put their prices up. And we're in this vicious circle and it will never end. And the OBR are saying that a lot of the stuff in the property world is going to cause problems. And so what they're saying, one of the problems is the tax rise. So there's a tax rise on landlords. Now, landlords are the most heavily taxed businesses that you pretty much get because a landlord pays tax on the whole of their turnover, whereas other businesses pay it on their profits. And so if you own a property in your personal name, it's important that if you buy new properties, you do it in a limited company because then you can actually deduct stuff like a normal business. But landlords can't do that if they own the property in their own name. And so the tax rates have gone up by 2%. So you've got a 22% tax, a 42% tax, and a 47% tax for high earners. Now, they're estimating, the OBR, that this will add to rents next year between £25 to £40. £40 being in London, £25 being the rest of the country. That's a fair increase, a fair amount, not as in, oh, great, that's wonderful news, as in, that's quite a lot of money for some people to find when they're struggling with the cost of living at the moment. But it gets worse. So next they talk about the mansion tax is going to hit rents, because in central London, some properties are going to fall into this mansion tax. Now, it's not sure who will pay this. Will it be the tenant or will it be the landlord? But either way, it's going to be the tenant, because if a landlord gets a £7,500 extra bill on top of their council tax, they're going to put the rent up. And that's what the OBR is saying as well. So they're saying central London rents, even on places like HMOs and stuff like that, because you could have a 7-8 bedroom HMO that could be worth well above £2 million, depending on its location in London. They are going to see increases in their rents because of this stuff. So we're not just talking about mansions, we're talking about people that are at the lower end of the accommodation scale as well, because the property that is holding those HMO rooms, that's worth a considerable amount of money. So that's going to be a consideration as well. And they also said the Renters' Rights Act. The Renters' Rights Act, this is going to cause big problems because landlords are quitting. And so we've done a video this week where evictions, just since this has only been in about a month, just since this happened, the Renters' Rights Act, eviction notices have surged 65% in a month. 65%. That's a problem. So that means a lot of people will be struggling to find properties because there's going to be a big influx of tenants at the moment, right? So that's good if you're a landlord. If you have a property, you're going to find a tenant very easily at the moment. And so you're going to get lots of applications, but the rents are likely to go up. And that's something that's not good for the tenants. You're also going to shrink the private rental sector again. So it hasn't grown since 2016. The population's grown massively in that period of time. And that's a problem. And that is going to be something that we've got to look at here and get solutions for. And right now, this government aren't looking to do that. They're looking to tax over here, squeeze the money out over here, not realising that these costs get passed on. There wasn't really anything in that budget that's a problem for the big companies that have got record share prices at the moment and record profits at the moment. It's all about squeezing the money out, the small people, and I think this was a bad budget. It's interesting that it's not just my opinion on this. Obviously, it's a lot of you guys think that because maybe you're a landlord, but it's also the OBR saying the same stuff and backing up what we're thinking. So let's see how this goes. If you're a tenant, it's important to understand and be prepared and make sure that you have a good relationship with your landlord, and hopefully you won't get rental increases passed on to you, but that might happen. Look, before you go, in a more positive news, look, we all need to make more money next year, and property is still a good investment. But things like buy-to-let, they are dead. I've talked about that multiple times this year. You can't just buy a new build property and rent it out like you could many, many years before. Now you need to look at properties that you can add value to, and that's called buy, refurbish, and then refinance the property and rent it out. That builds instant equity in that property. Then you need to cash flow it. Renting it out normally is an option because you've got some more equity in there, but you should also consider high cash flow strategies like serviced accommodation, like having it as an HMO. These also can do very well for you. And also there's lots of landlords, like I said, that are leaving the market right now, and they might not be able to sell their property because there's not enough buyers on the other end. Well, you could secure a property for as little as £1. You then control the property, you pay them a rent, and at a later date, you purchase it for an agreed price. That's called a lease option. That's a good strategy in this type of market, and that's also covered in our Black Friday offer. So we have a product called the Property Accelerator. It's got lots of programs included in that. Everyone else sells this for thousands of pounds. We're not even selling it for 200. Go and check out the Black Friday deal now. It's in the description. It's in the first comment. Do like this video on your way out and check out all the other content as well on this channel, including this video right here.